What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Cowardice here, and you are now tuning into a new video on my channel. Before we get on to the topic for today, I would love for you to do a few things. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed to this channel, hit the share button so you can share this video with all of your friends, family, and anybody else who you believe will enjoy the topic for today. Hit the bell icon so you get notifications for whenever I get new content on this channel. And make sure you also leave me a comment below after you're finished watching the video. For today's topic, I want to talk about something that was a post request from one of my Instagram followers. Or a video request, I guess is a better way to say it. I want to talk about something that is a video request, or was a video request from one of my followers on Instagram. I want to talk about the 5 intraracial issues that affect the Black community, specifically foundational Black Americans today, and how to fix them. Now, I will say that although I'm pointing out 5 big issues, this is not all encompassing. There's other issues, there's other problems, and maybe on another video I'll talk about some of the things that I didn't cover for today. But these are some of the biggest things that I think affect the Black community internally, and I want to also talk about solutions and how we can overcome some of the things that we see that would make us more empowered and make us better as a whole. The first issue that I see is what I would call self-hate or internalized racism. The reality is that this topic really comes from a lot of the old niggas. Your mama and your daddy, if you're a millennial, your mama and your daddy, those baby boomers who are Black. A lot of those old ass niggas poison you to believe that the Black community really ain't about shit, because a lot of those niggas are hopeless and they just gave up. They don't want to fight for anything. They don't want any type of justice. They don't want to be able to try to make the world a better place for Black people. They want to be able to get something for themselves. I'm not even going to say them and theirs, because they really don't even care about getting shit for their family for real either, even though most people think that. That's the reason why they sent y'all's asses to school. Y'all got a bunch of debt. That's why they're probably also trying to have y'all become athletes and all types of shit so you can bring money back to the family. Meanwhile, they don't really have a plan for you. They're just throwing you in the water and expecting you to swim. Point I'm trying to make, without going on a tangent about the old niggas, although it's deserved, is that a lot of them have poisoned you to believe that we really ain't about shit. So what a lot of you do, even if you're young and you're somebody who is not a part of this lowbrow part of society that I'm describing right now, you put all of your focus into attributing the idea that all Black people are represented by the lowbrow part of society. So in other words, we're all just as a whole degenerates. You all forget the idea that every class of people has degenerates, and actually some of their degenerates, some other races of degenerates, they do worse things than foundational Black Americans do. The point I'm trying to make, though, is that we have a problem with self-hate. A lot of us are always beating down on the Black community. We're always saying things like, well, you know, we don't ever come together. We don't ever do this. We don't ever do that. We don't have any wealth in our community. We don't have no education. We all dumb as hell. We all are thugs. We all do this. It's always negative down talk and negative talk about the Black community as a whole. Now, some of you will go around and say, well, ain't that true though? Ain't that true though? Ain't that true? But the reality is that it's not totally true. There's a lot of us who are doing a lot of very constructive things. There's a lot of us who are able to prevail and to do positive things for ourselves and be a success for ourselves, despite the fact that we're in a system of global white supremacy. So no, and I don't think it's fair, because you're undermining the idea that there's so many of us who have accomplished things despite all the obstacles that have been set in front of us. We really are just an embodiment of what we've seen from our ancestors, for example, when it came to building Black Wall Streets and things like that. We're still overcoming different situations and showing how phenomenal we are despite the things that we've seen. A lot of you niggas just pay attention to these lowbrow people in society and assume that the entire Black community is like that. So what I would recommend for anybody who wants to solve this issue is to stay away from negative ass people. Stay away from old niggas as well too. Give it about 30 years, they ain't gonna be here. And I'm not saying that like I want them to die off. I'm not saying it like that because I know that probably sounds callous. But the reality is that they have instilled that mentality into you, and you therefore are doing the same things that they were doing. So you need to be around like-minded people who have a positive impression and a positive desire to see the black community flourish and has seen a lot of great things. You band together and you get together with people who are doing things that are constructive, and you teach younger generations of people to think in the way that you do. And that means upholding a certain code of conduct, which we will get into a little bit later. But that code of conduct is called pro-blackness. The second problem that we face as a black community, specifically foundational black Americans, is cowardice and samboism. There's too many of you all who are cooning for butter biscuits. I mean, you all are tap dancing, buck dancing, whatever the hell you want to call it. You all are that. And I need you all to understand this. There's a difference between fear and cowardice. Fear is being anxious about or nervous about the consequences that you could face by doing a certain action or going against someone or doing something that could result in something that could negatively harm you. That is what fear is. That is a natural emotion that all of us as human beings feel. But cowardice is embracing that fear so much that you actually act upon it, meaning that you don't move on something or you don't do something so that you don't receive a certain consequence. So the problem with a lot of Sambos is that they are cowards. They are individuals who have given up when it comes to justice. They've given up when it comes to fighting back against oppression. So what they do is they embrace this mindset of selfishness. They embrace this mindset of how they're going to do things for themselves and not anybody else. So that's why you get a lot of these tap dancing Negroes who get different jobs and they're in there, they're selling you out for a paycheck and that type of thing. That's because they feel like all they're able to do is to be able to get theirs and that's it. They don't want to make systemic change. They don't want to make things better for their kids. They're hopeless. So what a lot of them do is they get over on people just for some butter biscuits and some crumbs while still being subjected to white supremacy, because the reality is that they're not safe by cooning. You don't have a retirement plan for cooning. It just doesn't exist. But the way to counter this is you don't. If you see somebody who is cooning, charge them to the fucking game and do your thing and use them as an example to teach people how not to be. Whenever you see somebody who's cooning, they are gone. Don't even try to hope for them to become better. I'm just going to be totally honest with you. Not everybody in the black community is going to make it and be successful. You're always going to have your lowbrows and you're always going to have your coons or a mix of the two. Those are people that you can't save because you really can't save everybody. You can only use them as a prop to teach other people how not to behave. The third thing that we experience is a lack of cultural delineation and gatekeeping. The reality is that when it comes to foundational black Americans, they love to one big Negro our culture. They love for us to just be one big black person without paying attention to the distinct things that each person in the black community in different black cultures actually do. The ways we behave, the foods we eat, our cultural practices, the ways that we interact with one another, the way that we deal with our relationships. It's totally different from culture to culture, even from different black cultures. And we get conflated as if we're all the same. But the problem is that foundational black Americans take the brunt of all of the bad things that go on. And really, to be honest, when good things actually happen, we're not allowed to embrace that. And we're not allowed to have that be a part of the whole one big Negro trick. What I mean by that is, let's say that somebody is not a foundational black American. Let's say that they are Ghanaian and they're a Ghanaian American. They're from Africa, but they've immigrated over here to America. If let's say they become a doctor, a lot of them are so proud of their culture, and they should be proud of their culture. I'm not saying that they shouldn't. A lot of them are so proud of their culture. Whenever they succeed, they'll go around and they'll tell people that they're the first Ghanaian American in their family or whatever the case may be to become a doctor, or they're the first Jamaican American. I'm just giving another example of another non-foundational person, Jamaican American to win a Nobel Peace Prize. Whatever accolade that is that they achieve, they make sure to highlight their culture, where they come from and the land they come from. So they're not even saying I'm black. they're saying I'm Ghanaian American, I'm Jamaican American, I am, just give an example, Nigerian American. But when something bad happens, it's a black person who did it. Whenever they do something real degenerate, it's a black person who did it. But a lot of times they're not specifying is that some of the crimes that these people are doing that are black but they're immigrants, our culture, we're not really doing. We don't do shit like randomly attacking Asians. And I think recently I saw this was going on in New York. There was a dude who was from, I want to say Belize, and he was black. Well, he appeared black. He threw like a lasso around a woman's neck and dragged her, and I think she ended up dying actually as well too. See, we don't do stuff like that. We typically we don't do stuff like that, and we see that in other cultures. Now I'm just giving you one example, but I'm saying all of this to say that a lot of times it becomes one-sided. We have to take the brunt of all the issues of black society, but whenever there are accolades to be given, it's not a whole thing where the whole collective of black people actually are able to get those accolades. That person or those group of people are usually delineating themselves. So the reason why I say that cultural delineation is important is because we also need to make sure that we are gatekeeping the things that we actually do that are our own accomplishments and not allowing others to take part of that. That's why, going back to that whole hip hop thing where they're trying to say that foundational black Americans didn't create that and that type of thing, that's hogwash and that's horse shit. We all know that black Americans were the people to create rap music. We created jazz music and all types of things. And they'll try to say we got influences from here and there and all this other stuff. These were our creations. And the other people who came and became a part of these different music movements that we created, they're more so students who were able to also take part in this. But gatekeeping, I want to be clear, is not just a thing of us needing to delineate when it comes to different black cultures or different like African cultures. Gatekeeping is also important when it comes to allowing white people into our spaces as well too. That's how you get a lot of white people who kind of get into that yo homie yo shit where they try to act like they're black or they embrace black culture, but a lot of times they're white supremacists in disguise. You get like the Michael Rappaports and the Gary Owens and the people like that. That's because you don't gatekeep. And I think that's a big problem. When we allow other people who are not a part of our culture into our culture, they end up doing whatever. And a lot of times they end up trying to take credit for the things that we've actually done. And we've had enough of that in our history. We've had enough of making all these inventions, for example, and then white people creating patents and taking ownership for something that a black person created. We've seen that all the time, and we're seeing that even still today. But now we have other forces against us. We don't have people making camaraderies with us as foundational black Americans. We have people stealing our ideas and the things that we invent and the things that we do. And that's not cool. And I think that's the reason why some of us can't really see pride in ourselves, because a lot of times we're trying to give credit to people who really had nothing to do with some of the things that we invented. So the solution here is to gatekeep and to literally delineate. Figure out what it is that your culture, and I'm talking about black, foundational black Americans specifically, but this would apply to other cultures as well too. Figure out what it is that your culture has done and what the people of your culture have accomplished, and use that as an understanding as to why it's special. And when other people become a part of it, they should have respect when they actually come into your culture and respect your soil and respect the things that you create. And the reason why that's also important is because you go over to other countries and, as a black American, we all have this unwritten rule that we're going to be on our best behavior as much as possible. Obviously you have some people who kind of deviate from that, like the sister who was in Dubai. But as black Americans, foundational black Americans, we have a culture to not disrespect other people's turfs. And they have certain rules that people should follow when they go over there. We need to be doing that same thing. When you come over here, you can't disrespect the pioneers of hip hop. When you come over here, you can't disrespect the people that invented some of the things that you use. You can't disrespect foundational black Americans, although we're the ones who invented things like the filament and the light bulb and the cell phone and things like that. You disrespect us, but you want to use the things that we created. That's what I mean by gatekeeping. We need to figure out what it was that was ours and hold people to a standard that they're going to respect what it is that we have, and we're going to give them accountability when they don't. The fourth thing that is a problem with the Black community is improper education and a lack of understanding history. A lot of our problems come from us not being properly educated and knowing the necessities that we have to know in order to survive and eventually thrive in society. And I think that one of the problems with white supremacy is that it maldistributes resources. So you're not able to get a hold of different things that are going to allow your community to thrive. That's why they do it on purpose. And part of that is education, because when we go to school a lot of times, or pretty much all the time, it's a system of indoctrination. You don't learn about the necessities that you need for survival skills. You don't learn about finances and stocks and bonds and things like that. You don't really learn about taxes. And you certainly are not taught all of your history. You're taught about Martin Luther King. You're taught about Rosa Parks. You're taught about slavery and maybe a few other sprinkles of things. But you're not taught about things that are crucial to foundational Black American history. Even in some schools now, in some states, they're even trying to remove certain programs that teach us about our history. So you already know there's an agenda for that to not be a thing. And then in some cases even, they may even lie about the stuff that they're actually telling you. And the real history is somewhere with an ancestor or somebody in your family or that type of thing, or you have to kind of listen to somebody who is not in some type of institution to tell you the truth about it. So improper education and lack of understanding history is important, because when you understand how great you are as a foundational Black American or as a Black person, then you will always speak highly about people who are Black and how we can get back to that point. And you will always strive to try to get us back to the point where we're doing something that is constructive. Now, when it comes to how we solve this problem, I think that what we need to do as Black people is create private institutions. Create institutions, create our own curriculums, and teach Black people the things that they need as far as skills when it comes to survival, when it comes to finances, when it comes to self-awareness and that type of thing, when it comes to knowing their history. We need to be able to have education systems that teach these things. So I would encourage anybody who is an educator, who cares strongly about the Black community and really wants to make a difference, to maybe create their own schools. And we really need this especially for like Black male teachers who really want to take the initiative to teach Black kids specifically. You know, we're always trying to weasel our way and try to find ways to teach kids, Black kids here and there, even when they're in schools that are integrated. And a lot of times we teach other kids as well too, as teachers, that is. But I think that there's value in trying to hone in on exclusively teaching Black people the things that they need to know about their history and who they are. The last point that I have is upholding a pro-Black code of conduct. When you don't have pride and really don't truly love who you are from a cultural standpoint, then you'll let anything fly. And that's why a lot of you all allow or don't see pro-Black values as something that is important to uphold. You all see it as restrictive because it prevents you from having racial, sexual access. You see it as something that takes away your freedom. You see it as something that limits you, when it's none of those things. The dominant society has convinced you that those things are limiting, but there's a lot of value in us as Black people wanting to better ourselves and be more empowered. And I think that we need to make ourselves a priority, and that's what pro-Blackness does. And the reality is that you all are a bunch of damn hypocrites if you don't if you feel that there's something wrong with embracing pro-Black values, because you're the same silly Negroids who will walk around and talk about how we are not doing anything, we're not getting any better, we're not empowered, we're really not about shit, and all this other stuff. You have all these nasty, negative ass things to say, but then you don't really want to do anything that's going to actually change the Black community. You just think, oh, if all of us like get a bunch of money, then that's going to be it. No, because that spirit of Sambo is still in your blood. That spirit of Sambo is still in your heart. You're not going to want to help other Black people because your mindset is still focused on really just helping you, because you want a lifetime supply of butter biscuits. That's really the problem at the end of the day. You need a code of conduct because you need a purpose is and what you're using your money and your resources for. And if you really care about black people, you would use it to create things that empower them. But pro-blackness specifies that you make them a priority in every regard. So all of you Negroes who are going around talking about some just get your money and that's it, just get your money and that's it, that's because you all are little raccoons walking around eating butter biscuits and tap dancing. That's all y'all care about. So it don't matter if we were the richest people in the world. It wouldn't matter, because we would always have Negroes like you who would ruin everything because you really don't have any pride in being black. You really just only are out for yourself. That's the problem. So how can we change this? How can we make this better? We need to build up young people who don't have this knowledgeability, who don't have this code of conduct, who need a way to need something that is going to a framework that can keep them disciplined and can give them a purpose. We need to build people up who have that mindset instead of trying to change the minds of some of you coons that are out there. I think that we really need to have a mindset that we are going to help try to make the future generations better. And anybody else who wants to get the game, they can get the game today. But we really need to focus on the future. And I think that's why I said that it goes back to that point I made about, and I said this, I think, in the first point, that we need to be around like-minded individuals who all want the same thing. And when you're pro-black, that means that you want to be around other people who are pro-black. The more voices that you have that get together, band together collectively, and put these ideas out to the forefront, the more traction that it's going to get with the kids that you influence. But you have to not just talk about it, you also have to be about it. You have to lead by example. And you have to create things, systems, businesses, resources, opportunities for people so that they can also succeed as well too. So it's rather simple, but the solution to a lot of this is staying away from Zambos. And there's a lot of y'all out there, so yeah. But anyway, y'all, I hope you all enjoyed this video. I hope that this was a good enough breakdown for you all to get an idea of some of the issues that I believe that we face as a whole. Other than that, I hope y'all have a good rest of y'all's day, and I'll talk to you later. Peace.